right now what's going right is we're getting the right players on the bus. And I say that is we are now searching for the right people to take our team members, get the right mindset that they want to be a part of us. They want to see our vision. They want to see where our values are and where we're going to bring this company and what are we shooting for? What's our goals? And so bringing the right people, and I think we've waited way too long to get to that point. Focusing on the people and finding the right people that see the vision and really want to move that forward. So I'd say that's going right now. We found some really great individuals to help bring our organization to that next level. So I say that's going really well right now. We're in that kind of transitional process of moving it through. And I say property management, we do a rebuild almost every year. So at the end of the year, we're like, okay, we get together, what went well, what didn't go well, what do we got to solve, and what do we got to figure out.
This episode is brought to you by Pierre Tax and Accounting, led by CPA Eric Pierre, a seasoned accounting and tax expert with years of experience helping individuals and businesses navigate complex financial landscapes. Whether you need personal tax planning, business tax strategy, bookkeeping, or financial planning support, Eric and his team are committed to helping you protect and grow your financial future with clarity and confidence. To get expert guidance you can trust, check out Pierre Tax and Accounting at pierreaccounting.com. We'd also like to thank Data Driven Decisions, founded by Katy Forster, for sponsoring today's show. Data Driven Decisions specializes in accounting, bookkeeping, payroll, and advisory services tailored specifically for small businesses and entrepreneurs who want financial clarity and peace of mind. From KPI reporting to fractional CFO support and QuickBooks training, Katy's team brings big firm expertise with a personal touch. Visit them at datadriven.coach to see how smart financial support can make all the difference in your business growth. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Big Hitters Podcast. I'm joined by a man with a beautiful beard who has lots of doors in his portfolio. He is the one of the founders and principal members of Max Property Management, primary broker. And Cory has been in the real estate space for a while, and I'm really excited to pick his brain. Cory, my first question is always the same. Tell us a little bit of your story, how you wound up where we are today.
Yeah. Well, Andrew, I appreciate you having me on. You reached out to me and wanted to get with you. I see some great stuff that you're doing. So again, thank you for having me on today. I appreciate it. And it's great to tell my story, to kind of get a little bit out there for those that, can see that things are possible if you can get your mind around it. So I'll tell you just a little bit about myself. I originally... I've always been into real estate. My parents were into real estate a long time ago. And, we kind of started from the ground, just, hey, how can we take this rundown property? And my dad he's a chiropractor. So he was into the medical field and would take old homes and, put them into as far as making his office out of them. So kind of early days, just buying these offices and renovating them and kind of there's, even our homes that we had. So that was kind of the first taste in real estate. I never was going to go down this path. And property management finds you, you don't find it. Typically, that's how it goes. You never actually just want to get into property management. It typically finds you. And so it found me for sure. But originally, I went to, I'm from Northern Nevada originally. So I went to college at University of Nevada, Reno, started there, was going into biology. So I wasn't even going to go into any sort of real estate. And, from there, I found, I was getting my medical stuff because I was just going to become a chiropractor like my dad. And then decided that, things were changing. It wasn't quite the route. And then I got into firefighting and I became a fire medic for a while. So I completely changed. I dropped out of college and I was like, man, this college stuff is crap. I'm not digging it right now. So got out of there, went and got my fire licenses. So, my fire 1 and 2 with the national, and then I got my national cert for being a medic. And so then I found a job. I was actually on a paid firefighting staff and I did that for about 5 years. and to the point where I almost lost my life in one of the fires. And so decided that maybe putting my life on the line for a paycheck was not quite the route I should be going. I mean, it was great when I was when I was 21, where decided that the adrenaline rush was more of what I cared about at the time. So then I decided, well, I moved to Utah, and I came to Utah. I had some family here and came to Utah just on a whim, and I got into a property management company that hired me. And so I just happened to get in there. I was in their maintenance. So again, think from the very bottom when you talk about a management company. Hey, maintenance is a very key core function. So I got into there. They were having some problems, and again, I was from blue collar, right? I was able to work with my hands. I knew how to build stuff. So I started down there, and I saw how inefficient it was, and how their communication and processes were just horrible. So I redeveloped their division and became more of a functional piece of that management company. I saw a lot of stuff that they did wrong, and happened to be that I got in with some investors that were investing in that property management company. It had some properties into it, and they actually hired me on to help their brokerage and more of the marketing side, because I was into kind of film and marketing. That was some of the stuff I was doing, and kind of changed paths from that. Hey, it was just help them kind of get to where they were at. Didn't really love the space I was in at the moment. And so I was hired by this group called the Fourplex Investment Group. And they hired me. They were just starting their brokerage, just starting to get this whole idea of selling fourplexes, okay, as investment properties and building them. So developing, building, and then they really weren't going to manage. They were actually having this management company that I was with manage still. So I got in with them, and there was problems that they couldn't get that management to really start to take off, right? They were having investors that were upset, and they couldn't lease the properties out. So I was like, all right, well, I was with that company. I saw how I didn't like how they did it. So I really did. I jumped right into it and just said, hey, I'm going to take this on. So pretty much just started a company from zero doors, and started to work with this investment group where we start to develop these communities of fourplexes and investments in these communities. And so it's kind of what you call the very first kind of model of build to rent, BTR. So you're seeing a lot more of it now in the investment world is BTR. I think we were one of the first pioneers. We were doing this over 10 years ago, actually building more build to rent communities where they were all investment properties. They were in a community and they were build to rent. So that's kind of the space that we started here in Utah. Then ventured out to Texas, Arizona, in the Boise market. Still currently doing them today, but kind of took that and realized that there's a lot of work. So I had to start at the bottom, had to get a PMS software. I mean, we talk about a lot of AI, right? And all the kind of technology that's coming up. Well, back in the day, there was just a PMS software, so property management software. And, I started with that and had to learn all the ins and outs, the accounting, the move outs, the entire system. I didn't know what I was doing. So I'd spend, a good 120-hour work weeks just trying to, educate myself on property management, because I really didn't know what it was. Enough about it. So there's all the legal, all the people, all the things, all the movements, the communication, and all those things are really, really key points of property management. So I had to learn and educate myself. Well, kind of let's fast track to now. We built an organization where we're, roughly about 1.2 billion under management right now, as far as the property management company goes. In the three core states, Arizona, Utah, and our Boise market, we're continuing to grow across the country, different markets in BTR space.
Can you say that again? Because you said it really casually, but it's a
lot. Yeah. So to kind of go from zero doors, okay, and typical property management companies could take, a lifetime to get to 500 doors. We're over 3,000 units under management, creeping up to actually almost 3,500 doors. So over $1 billion. So roughly 1.2 billion in assets under management. So that's just the management spot. Now, if we talk about our HOA,
I'm just curious. I'm playing the comparison game in my mind. but I'm
Yeah.
imagining the audience, like, how old are you now? Because you were a firefighter when you were 21.
Yes. So right now, so I'm 38, right? So I started right as, I got married when I was like 26, and that was the whole start. My wife built all the way up through it. So I had to deal through all of the, hey, I'm not going to see you all week long. I may see you on the weekends. And so, it was kind of that stretch. But yeah, I built this thing, got the right people in, had good mentors. I had some really good mentors that I learned and educated from. And how do they communicate with people? You know, how do we treat other people? Because that's a big part of it, is like, it's relationship based in what we're in. Again, I'm in a service industry, right? It's, we'll talk about the maintenance side a little bit, but yeah, we're in service. So service industry. So we had to talk to people, had to get to know people, had to understand how people, react in communication. And so, yeah, so I was, my late 20s started this thing, and, I'm now in my late 30s, but yeah, that's, over, 1.2 billion under management just on the management side. That doesn't account for our HOA and our other ventures that we've created off of that.
Well, I mean, it's really impressive, dude. So hopefully you take a moment once in a while to just celebrate. It sounds like you guys had a big party the other night as a company, which
Yeah.
was awesome. But it's super duper impressive. So what makes you? What was my next question? Okay, how many of those doors are yours?
So I have a partner, and so my partner that's in with the company, we essentially made our own. So we've got in our real estate portfolio, we have let's see, we have over 40 units of ourselves between commercial, residential, condos, townhouses. So we do a mix. So we've got some storage units that we have. So we just look at investment opportunities that we come into these things, and we add to our own portfolio. And then I run my own Airbnbs. I house hack. So ever since the very first home that I bought, I have never sold a single property that I have ever bought. And so I continue to recycle that, rent it back out, move. So I've literally made 3 moves to the next house. I built my own house, my final forever home, got to that point. But every home I still have, I've either house hacked it, I have an Airbnb, and then I have a rental above it. So, I continue to add to my portfolio. And then every year we add 1 or 2 to each portfolio, my own personal portfolio, and then my partner and I's portfolio. So we continue to add doors as we go through it. And that's just every year we come up with that goal, is to add 1 property per year to the portfolio. We figure out how to do it.
For the property management business, who is your ideal client? Like, what types of property owners come to you? And then what makes you, I know, and you mentioned it kind of, but I want to isolate it just for the audience. What is your guys' value prop? Like, why you versus other property management firms?
That was a great question. I think about it in more in the investor terms, right? Because we're not great with your accidental landlord. I would say, like, hey, I got this property, grandma and grandpa left it to me, and I've kind of rented it out, or I can't afford it, or something like that. So we're investor mentality state. So a lot of the stuff we do is for investors, and so we make sure that our investors, there's a relationship there, and that's how I can speak to. Now, our ideal clients, we do a lot of the build to rent communities. So we're talking bigger stuff. So developing groups, we have some fund groups that we work with. So those are our ideal customers for our big. So we got into more big time, management of, those 20 to, 300 door communities. And so, family offices, fund management groups, things that they have properties or assets, whether it be, the garden style apartments, which we do, or the build to rent communities, which is really what our bread and butter is. So that's more of where we're at. Family offices. Now in Utah, we'll do single family. We've got a portfolio of 300 plus doors in just single family type properties, just because a lot of our investors have more properties, and we wanted to be that solution for them. But yeah, I'd say bigger fund management groups in the BTR space or apartment communities is where we focus on now.
That's super cool. So what's going really well with your business right now, Cory, and what's not going so well?
Well, Another great question, because I do feel like any operator or any business owner, you kind of feel like nothing's going right ever, right? It's problem solving, right? And I believe that is some of the, makes you humble, I guess, because you've always got to come to work and you got to make it work, right? You got to bring the teams together. You got to be an operator, and you got to be a leader. So I think those are some of the things. So I come in every day. Like I could just say, hey, I want to go and I'm just going to hang out over here. I enjoy coming in, sitting down, and solving problems. So I would say what's going right? Well, right now what's going right is we're getting the right players on the bus. And I say that is we are now searching for the right people to take our team members, get the right mindset that they want to be a part of us. They want to see our vision. They want to see where our values are and where we're going to bring this company and what are we shooting for? What's our goals? And so bringing the right people, and I think we've waited way too long to get to that point. Focusing on the people and finding the right people that see the vision and really want to move that forward. So I'd say that's going right now. We found some really great individuals to help bring our organization to that next level. So I say that's going really well right now. We're in that kind of transitional process of moving it through. And I say, property management, we do a rebuild almost every year. So at the end of the year, we're like, okay, we get together, what went well, what didn't go well, what do we got to solve, and what do we got to figure out? And I'd say, interesting, you talk about AI, and I know you've sold a company, and, that has been a huge, like, if you're not jumping into this space of technology and what it can do, you're behind, and you're already behind. And so, it was super important to find, I've got a developer on staff. I've got relationships with new, and AI is just software, right? It's manipulating software to do what you want it to do.
Yeah.
And so, ultimately that's one of the things that, we haven't, I don't say we've been fast enough in adoption to some of those things. We've pushed really hard this year, and actually and we can talk about that next, is kind of where AI is going to take this field and where we're going to move that forward. But those things, we just haven't adopted things fast enough, looked at markets fast enough, because as you see in our economy, I'd say, if we get more access to data points, which again, AI can help, faster data points, the numbers that speak to us, and forecasting better. And so trying to see about, because we've had a huge shift in, the market, whether it's, high interest rates, cost of capital, all those things have adjusted, and then individual people, like, they're losing their jobs. Like, the jobs numbers report that came out was horrible, right? And so, that's another thing to think about. People are losing their homes and their way of living. And, 36.6% of people between the ages of 18 and 38 years old are now moving in with family. So you think that's families moving in with other families just because they can't afford to live on their own right now. So, those things, I just say we just for us to be better and to move that forward, one, it's just, how do we adopt things quicker? How do we look at the numbers, and how do we forecast? And those are the things that we really need to focus on and do a lot better on.
That's awesome. I love that you shared that. Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting with the AI stuff, man. Everybody feels like, I could be doing more with it. And what's really funny is, like, when I ask somebody, hey, what are you doing with AI? They're like, oh, I use it every day. I'm like, what do you mean it? Like, are we talking about ChatGPT? Like, what? Well, because that's not it. There's a lot more. And honestly, Cory, to your point, the thing, so I have an AI agency, like, that's what we do.
Yeah.
And right now, if someone's like, Andrew, what do I need to do to be like with this whole AI boom? I would say you need an AI employee. That's it, which is really just like, people say AI agent, and I feel like people don't really get that. Like, what is an AI agent? It's just an AI employee. And so, for instance, I talked to a roofer the other day, $8 million roofer in the first 18 months of his business. Super impressive.
Fantastic.
And he had developed an AI receptionist through Go High Level. And I'm like, dude, this is where most people are, miles ahead. Yeah. That's it. Miles ahead, bro. And that's it. Just some sort of AI employee. That would be for anybody looking to dip their feet in 2020.
And High Level is a great one, right? High
Yep.
level's easy. It's accessible for everyone. You can learn it and educate.
Yep.
I run high level even on our stuff on the sales side.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, to your point, you know, you can start small, but it's educating on what can it do and what its capabilities are. There's already millions of tools, and you got to be careful. I'd say, again, you running a firm, right? You need to do your research on who, because everyone can sell the nice little shiny AI tool. It's not really true. They could be building it in a high level, and it's not really AI built for you, right? And so, kind of educating yourself on really what can it do? Is this agency the right agency for me? What are they going to do? And I everything I do, what's my return on my investment? So whether you're going to pay
Yep.
for it, whether you're going to build it yourself, my time is my return. What's my return on my time on that education? What's that going to bring me? If I'm going to pay for it monetary, I better 10x that monetary,
Yep.
I got to make sure I'm going to get that from it. So, that's the cautious piece. And even when I talk to our people in our space, that's the cautious piece. I mean, we're getting to the point, and if we're talking about AI, we're actually, our own base layer AI model, which is, we're creating our own internal chat GPT, taking all of our policies and
Mm-hmm.
procedures and making our own essential base model AI. And that way, when we start to plug in, our assistant, right? Where our AI assistant it could take those phone calls and answer the phone calls for us based on, hey, we educated our own model to be able to act and respond the way our people would. And so it's listening to our phone calls, it's recording them, it's making sure that how do we speak and when we talk to. It's taking my language that I speak and my emails that I send out every day, and it's creating that own, model of how do we communicate with people so that we can replicate it, make it better. So yeah, that's what we're currently venturing out right now. We're working with a group that's helping us create our own internal AI, so then we can plug in all of those software pieces to it. Hey, I want to plug in my AI assistant. I want to plug in the phone systems. I want to plug in all of the forms and models that we use to communicate with people. So it's fun. I enjoy it, but if you don't start using it, educating and really starting to move yourself forward onto it, you will be lost. You'll be behind, and someone that's going to do it is going to adopt. Just like you said, the roofer guy. I mean, that's phenomenal. Be able to do that yourself. You can
Yep.
educate yourself on how to do it.
Yep. Yep. Totally. Hey, as you were talking, totally switching gears, most real estate guys I talk to have a thing that they just like love. Like a buddy of mine from Rise Up Kings, he loves converting commercial space into storage units in small towns. I don't want
Oh,
to
that's great.
go to Denver, Kansas City, and mess around with the big boys. I like small towns. I had another guy. He's like, dude, sober living homes. I take a house. It's got 6 rooms in it. It's close to the bus, and I convert it into a sober living home, a halfway house of sorts. And dude, I'm crushing it with that. Like, what's your thing? Like, what's your strategy or something if you had to be high on one?
Well, me on the personal side, I do a lot of some short term rentals, right? I convert those into those short terms. But as far as my wife and I are working on a foundation, and what we want to do is our foundation is helping those. We're working on to create it and get a foundation where one, I hope I can teach my kids on, because not to say I've worked really hard for what I've gotten, and and doing it with my spouse, because I think that's really key. If I didn't have her, we wouldn't be where we're at today. So it's a partnership, and that's where we've kind of grown up. And I use that to hopefully teach my kids. And so a lot of this is where they have what they want, they have what they need, and then we don't have to worry about the food on their table or the roof over their head, right? And today we have a lot of people that just don't have a roof over their head. And so, our goal is, even in the development side, as we start to get more of these build direct communities working with, and I had some conversations with some city council members and say, well, how do we get more affordable housing? Well, a lot of it's simple in my mind. You got to take the regulations off and the handcuffs off of developers and people that want to build housing for the right reasons, and allow them to do it. And so, and I think that's what we're starting to see, some of that movement. But there are so many regulations, and the reason why housing costs so much is because all the red tape they got to go through. So if you want to make it affordable, we got to do that. So, we're hoping to start, hopefully next year, our foundation is more to help those in need to get into housing. Part of it's housing to say, hey, I've got, it could be from domestic violence, those that, have issues to be able to get housing. Hey, they've been in relationship. How do we educate those that, maybe they're going through a divorce or a domestic and they need to get into a home. I've got kids. I've got, putting a roof over someone's head is, I would say one of the key number one things to be able to do for your family. Like if you don't have a roof over your head, a lot of things, get affected. Your mental health, your, everything kind of runs through that roof over your head. And if you have a stable home and a roof over your head, that's very important. So that is what we're working towards is, I want my wife to take that foundation and bring our kids into it and really teach them, we can give and help others out all at the same time. And so, I want people to be successful. I want them to do good for themselves. And ultimately, it just still comes down to it's a lot of freaking work. It doesn't matter. Like you can't just skate through and people are just thinking that they're just given things. You look at anyone that's driving that nice car. Now, again, they could be fake, but most people that are driving or doing those things, they worked for it. I would say most operators, almost all business owners, whether you're Elon Musk or not, right? He's worked so hard and diligently to get, and no sleep, just constantly working to make sure that we get in somewhere. And so, that's for me, it's really, we're trying to get housing more affordable in different ways. And so I really enjoy trying to figure out those ways. And as we go to more development, finding out ways to build mass communities where we have affordable living. We have options for people to graduate in communities. So that's our vision, what we're working towards.
I love that. And as the raging libertarian that I am, I hope you do that and not the government. So
yes,
that's what I believe our responsibility is as decent human beings on this earth, is to create opportunities for people that are less fortunate. So I love that. Yeah. Cory, what's one thing that we haven't talked about today that gets you fired up?
And it kind of comes back. We had it right before we got onto this. You talked about a book, and I kind of have a lot of my mantra and our vision of where we take a lot of things. And, what really gets me fired up is, taking ownership. Okay. So Extreme Ownership is the book. What's the author?
I know who you're talking about. He's a Navy guy, a Navy SEAL guy.
Yeah, Navy SEAL. Anyways, it's been a minute. I should reread it again. But ever since I read that book, and it was years ago when it first came out, and I really took that to heart in a lot of the things that I do. I'm like, okay, I need to look at every situation and scenario and say, okay, I need to own up to whatever decision I make. I make thousands. We all make thousands of decisions a day. And so if you think about how many decisions you make, yes, you're going to get them wrong. You are 100%. I think I make more wrong decisions than right ones. But it's how I own up to those decisions and take them, because I can turn a wrong decision into a right one. And so I think, I like the premise between, that ownership model. And so I've taken that to a whole new level. If I have someone fired up by, whether it's a resident, whether it's an investor or an owner, I can get to that level and go, hey, I'm going to put me in your shoes and go, why? Why am I so to here? And I'm going to take responsibility. If we did something wrong, if we didn't do what we said that we're going to do, I teach our people and I will own up to anything that we do. I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If we screwed up, I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to say, well, this is what we're doing. I'm also going to come up with a solution. Hey, I may have messed up, but I can typically turn that into a positive because, one, I own up. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to give you a result afterwards. And so that's where we've really, kept those kind of core foundations, is just owning up. Whatever decision you make, I don't care. Right, wrong, indifferent. You own up to it, and then you take it to that next level. You can solve all of those maybe missteps or mistakes Again, thousands of decisions a day. I'm sitting here, I've got thousands of decisions. You woke up. You made a conscious decision to wake up this morning and go to the gym, right? You made a conscious decision as you woke up. Or guess what? Grateful that you woke up today, right? So there wasn't really a decision there, but you woke up today and you can actually take that forward. So if read that book, I forget, what's his name? I need to have to find it.
I know, it's always that Amazon bestseller. Just type in expert ownership.
Yeah,
I know exactly
just type in extreme ownership. Read that book. I think it's a really, it's a really great book. I should know the author. It's actually on my collection over there. So
well, if you need a good one, I'm reading the I'm reading the Elon, and I'm glad you recommended a book for the audience. I'm reading the Elon Musk biography right now, and it's by the same guy that wrote the Steve Jobs biography.
What's that book called? I've read it. I think I've read it.
I think it's just called Musk, or like it's the one guy. Yeah. It's
a great book. Everyone should read it. So that's another good one. I mean, you think about his brain. Insane. He is one crazy individual, right? I don't think any of us could replicate him, right? He's not a human, right? I don't think. But it's crazy. You just, that book is a very good book as well. I mean,
it also paints a picture of him, and it's interesting. He has no life. That's it. That's all he does. He's like up till 3 a.m. at his company. He's like, dude, I would not want to work for that guy.
No, I mean, it's a special type of person, and like his relationships. I mean, you've got to know with that kind of guy. You just got to know, and he's never going to change. One thing that is, he is who he is, and he's not going to say sorry for it, and he's not going to change. So if you already know that, you know what you're getting when you're going in. So you don't have to be surprised.
Yep. Hey, Cory, if people want to learn more about who you are and what you do, where can they go?
Yeah, so I'm trying to do more and more social media content. So that's important. And again, thank you for having me on here. And so Cory, at the Cory Bohner. So you can find me on whether it's Instagram or my YouTube stuff, and a lot of LinkedIn. So I spend a lot of time more on the LinkedIn, the professional side. So you can find me on most of the social media platforms. So it's either Cory Bohner or the Cory Bohner. You're going to find me anywhere there. I do a lot of content. I try to post, at least once a day on content. So I've got a studio here in office that I do, there's a lot of discussion on what we do here, investment related. So we're talking about the market, talking about what we do in BTR, and then again, talking about how to, get more nitty gritty into the investment side of things and how the market's changing. And like we just had one about the 50-year mortgage, right? And I got a lot of people fired up on that one. So it's just, those are the types of things that we talk about. Just try to educate, get people a little bit, and, talk about, really getting it out there in a different perspective. Again, call me out on my BS, right? I always like a rebuttal. So, if you call me out on it, we have a great discussion. But yeah, that's what we do. So the Cory Bohner, find me on all the social media stuff here. And again, I'm happy to collaborate or chat with anyone. So.
I love that. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Don't go anywhere because I want to keep chopping it up with you, but thanks for coming on the podcast.
Cool. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it.